Hey, all good morning. So I thought we would put together just a quick one of our early streams again. How we sounding so far? How we sounding? So again, this will be kind of our play breakdown stream. Just don't jump on for maybe 30 minutes or something like that, and just go through and look at some play calls and some play differences maybe. And it was actually put as a joke in the Discord channel to look at Halfback Dive because somebody had gotten stuffed on the goal line with a Halfback Dive play. And I thought it actually might be interesting, though, to go through and look at the differences in Halfback Dive. You have Halfback Dives that are there for, all the schemes that are the same. And then you have Halfback Dives that are associated with each scheme. Hey, fourth quarter go ham. How you doing, man? And so I thought we might be able to look at the halfback dives, and I think we need to look at we can look at the fullback dives and just kind of take a look at the differences there. Meligator's saying, explain why you're not at work. I'll be at work at around 10:30. I'm going in, I think. Gotta get Jack in here. Oh, I gotta get rid of the giveaway setup. That's my Stream Elements hold over there from our giveaway we had. I gotta mark that as complete so that'll disappear. There we go. And we'll do giveaways later in the. We'll do it when we hit the late stream tonight, the Moonlight, the Moonlight Madden. But if we look at each scheme, so let's just jump in and we'll start looking at these. The only scheme that does not have its own halfback base variation or halfback dive variation is vert. And you can see as we go through the run plays that are here, there are a lot of good run plays, but we don't have a halfback dive variant that is scheme specific. It has the cross scheme set up, but it does not have a scheme specific halfback dive. If we look at West Coast, they do have a halfback dive scheme or a scheme specific halfback dive, and you'll notice it looks a lot different than a lot of the other variants. There you see you've got a bunched offensive line formation. It's on the right hand side there. You have a bunched offensive line formation, and then you have your remaining offense will actually push upfield to try to get more downfield blocks, and so it has an interesting blocking pattern versus what we see in the other schemes. If we look at spread, the halfback dive option that is in there. It is also quite a bit different than some of the other ones that we have. There you see it's a widespread formation. You have kind of a an angle on the line there that's happening in terms of the blocking, and so this actually is a slower developing halfback dive that is not necessarily good for short yardage, like 4th and 1, 4th and 2, but it is good for like first down plays. Is where I typically like to use the scheme-specific halfback dive for spread. And then Smash Mouth also has Smash Mouth has its own halfback dive that again also is a little bit different in terms of the blocking setup and the offensive line arrangement. There you can see the halfback dive there, and it's probably a little bit closer to the scheme non-specific halfback dive, but it's there. Yeah, theoretical hours. Yeah, it's lucky for me that I make my own. Yeah, I make my own hours, so that's nice. So yeah, but still, halfback dive is one of the best halfback run plays in West Coast. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a really great play. It does spread it out, and again, it's just different compared to what's there. So I figure we jump in. We'll look at the non-scheme specific. We'll start. Let's maybe start with we'll start with Smash Mouth since that's where I am, and we'll kind of dig into the scheme specific and the non-scheme specific. So I'm going to jump in here. We'll play Admiral Crunch. Got 70-48 power on me, so this will be fun to see how this hammers out. But we'll show them off here. I like Meligator's response. Physicist hours. You could or could not be at work. No way to know until you are or aren't there. And in fact, the act of observing me at work changed whether I was at work or not. It's the Schrodinger's cat problem for sure. So again, the act of observing me at work changes whether I was actually at work or not. It's too early in the morning for physics, though, I think. All right, so let's take a look here. So this is our you see our scheme specific halfback dive there, and here you see the non-scheme specific halfback dive down to the bottom left. And so you can see the difference there. The halfback dive formation that you have that goes across scheme is going to be a goal line offensive formation, and the halfback dive setup that we have for Smash Mouth is going to spread out. You're going to have offensive players on the outside, so hopefully if you've got man coverage especially, or even zone, it's going to hold those zone players out to that space to allow to give you a little bit more room, where halfback dive on the goal line formation is more designed for really breaking up and getting down the gut. So here we got Admiral Crunch's defense here lined up in a nice tight configuration. We've got a lot of players in the box there, and we'll see how this goes. You can see the fullback should run straight into the gap there, and then hopefully make way with that with the offensive guard for Barry Sanders to be able to kick that out. You see the receivers are going to come up. Julio Jones and Randy Moss are going to come up and try to block those outside defensive backs, the cornerbacks that are coming in. But you can see this is very well. You think the difference between observing and measuring. They are similar. Observation is the act of measuring, depending on what you're doing. So here we can watch this, and then we're just going to follow the blockers just like we would for most of our Smash Mouth plays. So that is our halfback dive for Smash Mouth. Let's run that again. Again, we've got some players stacked in the box. Wide receivers coming in. We'll play this, and again, I'm going to follow that fullback is where I want to go with this particular play. I want to make sure I follow that fullback wherever he goes. And let's look at the instant replay so we can see the blocking scheme that happened there. Again, you see Julio Jones and Randy Moss. They're going to run downfield a little bit as if they're actually running a play, right? So this peels off those cornerbacks until the cornerbacks realize, you know what, there's no action going on for the receivers, and now they have to come inside. By that time, your halfback has already picked up quite a few yards. And again, we follow right behind that fullback. He could cut outside, could cut inside. So you'll see that fullback either cut outside between the guard and the tackle, or go between the guard and the center. And you just really need to follow that path to get the best yardage. And that's a solid lick there that we put. That's the downside to these, and I don't use the halfback dives very much at all. Mostly because they do expose the halfback to brutal hits in the middle of the field if you don't get the blocking that's there. So that's where you're going to get your spears, and I believe this is where a lot of fumbles happen, is right there in midfield. Right there in midfield. Yeah, Epic, we'll do a stream at 10 tonight as well. I don't use a lot of halfback dives for that reason, because it does open you up. So this is the situation where you might want to have the 3rd and 1 halfback dive situation. This is this non-scheme specific, where you can see we're in a goal line formation. Hopefully we get some blocking here to be able to set that up and get at least that 1 yard. But we've got that blitzer coming inside here that I'm really concerned about. If that center misses that block, or that guard misses that block, then this play is going to get blown up in the backfield. Again, a very heavy blitz there. Looks like we've got man coverage, single high, but let's take a look and see what happens. Again, we're going to follow this fullback wherever they go to give us the best chance of making that 1 yard conversion. But hopefully we get enough of a goal line push here to be able to get that 1 yard. And there, see, they come off the edge. And so here we can look at the instant replay, see what happened, and the blitz is what got us. Heavy blitz here. And we see right there that the quarterback, backed out of the way. Fullback did their job, but they really should have come across right there and picked up that blitzer, but they did not. So again, that's a game mechanics issue. Let's stay alive here. Let's go levels YSL. At least try to stay alive here, and see if we can get that little dump off pass there just to stay alive. Greater than play break. That may be. All right, let's look at our scheme specific, or scheme independent, and again, we're going to follow that fullback again right down the middle. And again, that's the one thing I don't like about the goal line formation here on the short downs, is that it can work really well, and you can have the situation where a heavy blitz, if it does not get picked up, is going to result in a backfield tackle, which is not necessarily what you want. Let's save and exit out of here, and we'll swap schemes. Let's go with spreads fullback dive next, maybe. Let's do West Coast. We'll do West Coast and show that one. More people run West Coast. Yeah, fullback dive is great. I mean, that's an excellent one to try to go through. Let's jump on Trey here. That's a great one where, again, the thing that I like about Fullback Dive is that it has a very fast handoff. It's one reason why I still can't bring myself to move away from Vrabel in LVL, in my typical LVL, because that fullback dive strong that he has one of the fastest handoffs in the game. The handoff happens and the fullback is almost running at full speed when they get the ball, which makes it phenomenally difficult to stop. Now it can be stopped for sure. You can get blown up and hit in the backfield just like anything else, but it's really hard to keep fullback dive strong from picking up at least 1 yard when you run that play. It's just so fast that the defense, especially if you reduce the defense acceleration, boost your offense acceleration, it's really hard to stop that play. Now again, here we see the difference in this halfback dive. Same play call. We got a bunched offensive line, so we've got all those guys hanging out there in the middle. Our tackles through our from side to side, but then our tight ends and our receivers are going to be outside. Now what's really nice about this, as was pointed out earlier in the chat, is that this really can force sometimes those nickel and dime defenses, and it'll leave the middle of the field sometimes very wide open. And you can see that's what we have here. Unless we get a blown block, then these outside players here, which I can't tap on them to be able to show you, obviously, but these outside defenders here, the outside linebackers, are now going to have a hard time. And I can't tell whether it's we're seeing dime formation necessarily, which I'm thinking we're probably in a nickel setup, but you can see that they're spread out. So because they're spread out, not just waiting there in the middle of the field, it opens up the opportunity that we're going to be able to get some decent yardage there with this play. And again, the downside is, again, the blocks have to hold. And here that's what happened, is the block did not hold. Otherwise, we'd have had some good yardage there. So here you can see that, right? Defender comes in. Now these outside guys are completely tied up. We don't have a fullback, though. We don't have a fullback, so we rely on our guards and centers. And probably what I should have done here is go through the gap, the tackle guard gap, rather than going through between the centers. Because again, you can see the defender's back was to my halfback, so I should have bumped that outside to the A gap, and that would have been the place to go. I think that would have been a lot better doing it that way. Let's run that again. And so here now we've got a different blitz. It looks like we've got middle of the field now blocked up. Now we can hit it. For some reason it wouldn't let me on the last one. So now we can see we've got our two linebackers here. We have our middle linebacker sitting out here. We have our cornerback out here. Trying to see what setup. And we've got a middle linebacker there, two middle linebackers. So there we can see what configuration that we are in. And so again, now we're going to just watch this play develop, and then see if we can get, and there we just pushed back into the center. That one, the running back did the little hop step thing. Let's bounce out of this with levels YSL and pull back. Oh, did we get stopped short? We got stopped short. Let's try to halfback dive. Let's do the scheme specific or scheme non-specific and see if we can push that in, get enough of a push for the first down. All right, so let's run that again. So now we're getting this. We're getting the double middle linebackers. We've got the cornerbacks on the outside. This is going to be a little bit tougher setup, and we're going to bounce that outside then in that case. Troy B lined up in the C gap. Yeah, that makes it tough. Let's flip that. Do it again, and again see if we can peel off. See if we can peel off any of that. Yeah, we just get the center keep dropping the block there, which is not helping us show much. Let's look at. Look at the flipped halfback dive, see if we can get anything there. It's going to be blocking dependent. And there, look at that. Total whiffed block is what happened there. Watch this. So this is where that halfback dive, one reason why I don't use it a lot at all. We get a whiffed block, and we just get nailed. And that is a fumble waiting to happen right there. That is a fumble waiting to happen. And again, which is why I don't use that much of the time. What scheme am I in right now? I'm in... middle slants, 4th and 4. That was a slow setup. Yeah, Sting, Sub-Zero Ground brings up, since we're talking about dives, that probably falls into the category of a dive. You definitely want to flip halfback Sting for whatever reason. I feel like, especially when you see these nickel coverages where the nickel will be shifted to the left, which has been a problem all year. When you do that and you don't flip Sting and you run it to the left, and that nickel sometimes will just fly straight through and bust your halfback and then pop the ball loose. So you definitely want to get inside, and if you do that, you want to be able to set that. Let's go halfback sting again and see if we can show that, get a trigger on a nickel there. But anytime you're running like that, you want to make sure that you're avoiding that direct contact. Otherwise, you're going to get wiped out. All right, so let's look at the halfback dive again. We've run a couple run plays here. Let's see if we can get this. Now we've got a blitzer coming in pretty strong here. The linebacker is going to be coming in. Looks like on a pretty strong blitz. Again, we're in the 4-3 setup there with our 2 middle linebackers sitting here, and so we want to watch this. Those 2 middle linebackers are going to make this tough. And see there, that just comes inside. That is one of those moves where it's a fumble waiting to happen. So if I'm seeing a lot of the 2 linebacker setup or the 4-3 setup, then I'm not going to run a lot of that West Coast halfback dive, because again, that's a fumble waiting to happen. So again, if we're not familiar here, let's take a look at that. If we're in the 3-4 setup, which we're going to have our 2 little middle linebackers that are here. If we're in the 4-3 setup, then we're going to have 2 defensive tackles, which is what you're going to look for. And so that's what we're looking at. Anytime I see that 3-4 setup on the field, then if I'm running West Coast, I'm not going to be running a lot of that West Coast variation of halfback dive, because that 3-4 setup with the 2 middle linebackers is going to leave that halfback exposed as they come upfield. So again, that's what I would look for, is try to see if you can get a feel. Sometimes it's tough when you're running like an arena where you can't see what their configuration is, but if you're seeing that on instant replays when you go back and you see the 2 middle linebacker configurations, and you're seeing that fairly consistent like what we were seeing there, then you don't want to necessarily run that West Coast setup. If you start seeing nickel dime, and you're forcing those sort of setups because of the way that is set up, then that would be a place where that can be effective. So let's take a look at the spread variation of halfback dive, and where I like the spread variation of halfback dive is in first down situations, really. So that's usually where I use that primarily. Let's get another 7,000 power player. Yeah, no turning right now. We're just doing some gameplay, going through some play calling and reading some defense sort of stuff. But again, 3-4 defense versus that West Coast halfback dive, I generally stay away. I don't know if you guys do the same or not. Any West Coast players, do you guys do the same thing? Alright, so let's look at our spread halfback dive here. Again, this is going to be a much more slowly developing play. We do not have a fullback in this case. 90% of spread. We do not have any sort of fullback hanging out with us on run spots. And so you got to watch for that. And so then this is going to develop slow, but it is going to give you time to be able to run out. But I like to use this primarily when I have long situations, or if I know that I'm getting defenses where the middle of the field is not going to be completely gummed up. So let's kind of pass out of this just a little bit. We'll do some waggle. Just get a pass play out there, and then let's run halfback dive again. And again, this is going to slowly develop. It's going to slow develop, but you'll notice again we've got the offensive tackle, we got the offensive guards, but we do not have a fullback at all on the field. And so that's something you've got to be aware of. And see there, we get really nice blocks. Again, this is where this is going to be most effective, is when you're seeing those those deeper coverages. Middle of the field is fairly opened up. You can see this oftentimes causes the defense to split out, because where that offense is laid out wide with the tight ends and the wide receivers, again, this potentially triggers more dime and nickel coverage. Where it is not good is let's see if we can set up. Worst place to use is first and 10. Let's get this blown up. Let's set up a short down if we can, and show you where not to use this this setup. If I can get back to the line here. Do we get short? We're still 4th and 4. That's okay. Let's see what we draw here. This situation is where I would not want to use this halfback dive. Again, this is going to work out. Oh, there we got turnover on downs, right? We just didn't quite make it. And so that can get blown up. And part of that is because Part of that is because the play takes a little bit of time to develop, so you don't want to run that spread variation. You don't want to run that spread variation when you're in a situation where you're going to have a heavy blitz, because that heavy blitz with no fullback, there's possibly going to not be somebody there to be able to pick up that player, and so that's a mistake. Running halfback dive. I'm not saying it can't be effective in that space, with the right play call, but where you're going to want to use this is on first and second, and long is where you're looking at, and see where that middle of the field opens wide up, and we've got plenty of space to be able to run. We let that defense settle. Here again, we're going to have a big gap off to the right-hand side here. As long as we get the blocks, there we can move. Second and inches, let's try it again, see how we do. Here we spread it out. We've got the defense still spread out, and this is probably still going to play really nicely. But if you're seeing this in third and fourth down, I just wouldn't do it at all. And when I'm in those short situations for spread, generally I'm using inside switch, or again, I typically keep LYS on hand, and then gives you all kinds of options to play. Yeah, and we talked about the West Coast dive system. That's one we went through. And again, the only thing, I really like it as well. I think it's great. Again, forces those sort of nickel and dime coverages that you would expect. The place where we were talking about where you want to avoid it is if you've got a lot of that 3-4 coverage coming in. If you see lots of 3-4 coverage and they're stacking in the middle of the field, then that really can cause problems. But the spread halfback dive is really great. Again, what's been a problem here lately, and we've been okay on the stream here playing, but this is just interleague, has been the fact that blocking has been a little bit wonky. And so because that halfback dive takes a little bit longer time, to develop, and so because of that, if you're having blocking issues, then it really can cause you a big problem. Let's look at fullback dive strong. Since we're doing the dive plays, we'll take a look at that real quick. Let's look at normal fullback dive. This is our non-scheme specific. Again, this is a really nice play because the handoff happens quickly. Here we've picked up what looks like might be nickel coverage just based on the way that moved. It's tough to tell. Are we still in 3-4, or did we get the nickel? So there we've got defensive tackle. We got 2 defensive tackles, so it looks like we're running in 4-3 right now. We got 2, and we don't have 5 on the field, so it looks like we're running in 4-3. But that shifted left, so this could potentially open up a really wide running lane here if the center and the guard can do their job, right? If they can hold on, then that's going to give us a potential advantage here. Very fast handoff, but you see it just fell apart. Blocking just did not. The linebacker was able to come across, and we just didn't get that push there from the defense to be able to step up and get into that second line to be able to make the block for us. So Ziston says you get single high coverage with blitz, and the slower spread dive won't do as well. Yeah, I agree. West Coast can still be staking outside in those coverages into the house if lucky. I agree with that. You can still pop that outside because you do have those outside blockers with the tight ends and the wide receivers hanging out a little bit more wide. That does give you the bigger opportunity to move that outside. That's the same with halfback dive here. We do have these outside blockers that are there, so you do have some opportunity, and that's a bad run right there. That's one that's asking for a fumble. Like here where the center of the field is up, I may want to look at trying to bring that out if I can, but you got to get the offensive push or it's not going to work. Let's look at, I didn't mean to do that. That's fullback dive. We're going to get a good push there. This situation right here is perfect for fullback dive strong, though, if you're running Vrabel. Fullback dive strong, I like to usually send it off to the left. Here we've got a stacked box, though. We've got a blitz coming right into us, and let's see how we stack up here. We need the blocks to happen, and there we just get popped before we can do anything. Let's run it back the other direction, see if we can get a push with fullback dive strong, and look at that. That offensive line just shifting inside, and there we pop the fumble. We just got jacked. Yeah, slide option for halfbacks would be fine. I think that's a reasonable fix for that also. Let's see. Stone just played up. Let's go to Let's Go Cowboys. We'll show that. Cowboys said, why the early stream? I just jump in and trying to do them before I take off for the day. Trying to do some just play breakdown, play call things. kick out here. We'll try to get a short down, and then I'll show you where I usually like to use fullback dive strong. So there, see, with halfback dive, we can pop that outside and get some really nice yardage. We got the first down. Let's run that again. All right, so we're 2nd and 4, so let's maybe try to see if we can do fullback dive strong. Usually I like to use this in at least a slightly shorter, so let's see if we can fullback, just do normal fullback dive and get a little bit of a push to get that 1 more yard there. Now we're forcing definitely a short situation. Fullback dive strong. And again, now the defenders, we don't have that blitz coming right inside, which is going to blow up a lot of those inside plays. And here you can see that fast handoff, how quickly the quarterback hands off the ball and how quickly the fullback is up to speed. So watch how quick, boom, fullback is at full speed, and see that defender just does not have time to get in there. Let's go back and watch that at, let's go a little bit overhead view, and watch how quick that handoff occurs. So see the fullback there is at almost full speed. You see he comes out of the gate at almost full speed, and even if he takes a hit, he's probably got enough momentum to at least fall forward. And so that just gives you some options there. Again, halfback dive for spread, I think is a fantastic play. Lots of options as long as you know how to run. There we can take one to the house just by watching how that zone opens up. And it really is more like a halfback zone type blocking scheme is the way that it behaves, even though that's not really what's happening. But it does have a very zone-like characteristic to it in terms of how the blocking scheme happens. All right, guys, that's our quick stream for this morning, our play bait breakdown with halfback dive. Hopefully you guys, hopefully it was fun. So verbal pronounced Zai. All right, cool. Verbal pronounced Zai. But thank you, sir. I always like to make sure I pronounce your guys' IGNs correctly, even though I butcher some of them. It's not intentional. But all right, well, that like I said, we'll call it a day. Make sure you stick around always for the exit. See who followed or who hung out on the channel today. And I always like to give the mods credit for hanging out and help them with the streams as well. So make sure you check out the credits. We'll be back tonight at 10 p.m. for our Moonlight Madden stream. So if you can stay up past your normal bedtime, come hang out with us. It is arena night, so we'll be doing arena tournament tonight. So it's a great chance to win another 250 KTP, and there we'll also be doing our 100 overall player giveaways, and then we'll have some fun stuff on for the evening. So make sure you check us out then. Catch you guys at 10 p.m.